Okay, let's get started. We have a lot to cover before our exam on Wednesday. A couple questions that various of you were asking your GSIs, so I'm going to address to the whole group. First, does someone have the red Scantron sheet that we need? Can we hold it up again? Because there have been questions about which one. We want the wider one, thank you. Not the one that is the same size as the green one. We want this wider one. Okay, they do sell it at, thank you, they do sell it at Pat Brown's. I bought some recently, okay? So you must buy your own, okay? Thank you. Okay, and a number 2 pencil. Some of you asked, what do the short answer look like? Look on the back of your review sheet. I give an example of what it looks like, okay? It looks like a term, like, I'm all thinking second unit of the course already, like schema, but it won't be schema. Something like representativeness heuristic. You have to define it, which is worth 3 points, and then you have to give an example of it, which is worth 2 points, or some portion thereof, okay? And you need to be clearly distinct about your definition and your example. Can you regurgitate and just give an example from the book? Sure. Will that mean you necessarily understand it and do well in the multiple choice? No, it will not serve you well in the multiple choice, but you get 100 on the short answer. But the short answer is only worth 20 points out of 74 points, and 54 points is the multiple choice. So memorization takes you halfway, because you got to use your mind, memorize a little bit, yes, but then you got to understand everything, okay? Last question that also often comes up, do you need to memorize the names of the researchers? Oh, that was the Snyder and Swan study in 1977. You do not. You need to know what happened in that study. I will give you hints in the stems of the multiple choice. Recall the study by Snyder and Swan, in which they had participants come into the lab and take on the role of interviewee, and they had to ask interviewer questions. I will give you that information. Do not spend a single ounce of energy remembering the names of researchers or the dates that research was published. Other questions? Okay, get here on time to the best of your ability. When you come in, you will not listen to me, but I will try anyway. Move to the middle of the aisles because we are going to be a full, maybe over full house on Wednesday. And the sooner everyone sits down and doesn't have to climb over everyone, the sooner we can get started. Okay? We cool? Okay, remember on Wednesday we were talking about attribution, which is why I had the song Why by Annie Lennox. There is some method to my madness in song selections. Recall that we were talking about how there's sort of 2 basic kinds of attributions, really broad categories. Attributions that make reference to something about the person, we're talking about person, or internal attributions and attributions that make reference to something outside of the person, something about the situation, good luck, something that doesn't have to do with something internal or dispositional about the person. But we ended the lecture on Monday talking about how even back in the 1950s, Heyer, who gave us those 2 basic categories of attributions, he had the observation or intuition that people seem to be drawn more toward one kind of attribution than another. That people seem to be more like personality psychologists by default, wanting to attribute other people's behavior to something about them. Somebody behaves aggressively, well, they're aggressive. Somebody acts shy, they're shy. Somebody is really talking loudly, they're a loud person. Another way to talk about this is correspondent inference, which is the same thing for our purposes as internal attribution. You infer that a behavior corresponds to something about the person. You see a certain kind of behavior, you say it has something to do with the person. It corresponds. It's an inference about corresponding behavior to something about the person. Okay, I'll give you many examples. Aggressive behavior, aggressive person, shy behavior, shy person. Okay? Now, we're not really conscious that we're doing this all the time, but trust me, we are. And we're also not necessarily conscious, or nor were we explicitly taught, how it is we go about feeling good about our corresponding differences. Why are we so, what cues out there are we picking up and using to say, yeah, sure, something about how they're acting corresponds to something about them. What I'm trying to get at is, the theory, correspondent inference theory, argues that, consciously or not, probably oftentimes unconsciously, we're looking for cues out there that tell us, you know what, a correspondent inference is warranted. We're inclined to want to do that, so we're sort of looking out for cues out there that let us make that sort of inference. We're going to go ahead and make that internal attribution, go ahead and make that correspondent inference, if we can rule out other reasons that suggest it's not about the person. So if somebody has a gun at their head, and they're acting a certain way because the person with the gun at the head is saying, quack like a duck. Okay, we're not going to say, wow, that person quacks like a duck, he's kind of ducky. Okay, because there's a gun on his head. Okay, there's other reasons indicating that that behavior probably doesn't correspond to something about him. We're looking for cues out there. That is a bizarre, not often encountered cue. Okay, somebody holding a gun at someone's head. Let's talk about cues that we do often encounter. I'm going to give you 3 examples of cues that we use. This will become more understandable in just a minute. Okay. One cue we use has to do with the social desirability of the behavior that you're observing and wanting to explain. Socially desirable behaviors are behaviors that society deems appropriate and acceptable. When you meet someone's parents for the first time, you're polite. When you talk to some person of higher status, you're very polite. These are socially desirable things to do. Not coughing in other people's faces, not sitting too close to other people on the bar. These are all socially desirable kinds of behaviors. Here's the punchline. When someone behaves in a socially desirable way, do you think you should infer that that behavior has something to do with who they are? No, why? Exactly, she's saying because they're doing it just out of social desirability, not necessarily about who they are. The idea here is that social desirability is another reason for this person's behavior, so you're not going to say it has something to do with them. You're not going to make a corresponding inference. Now imagine the opposite case. If somebody acts socially undesirably, goes coughing everywhere. There's a situation where you're going to make an inference about that person. Gross. Okay, whatever your inference is, rude. Because there are reasons, if anything, that would say don't act that way, and yet they're still acting that way. So the punchline here is that when people act in socially desirable ways, it's harder to make a corresponding inference, an internal attribution, because there's this other explanation for their behavior. Society says you got to do that. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean something about them. But if they act socially undesirable, then you can be more confident about your correspondent inference, about your internal attribution. So punchline is if socially undesirable, internal attribution, IA, or correspondent inference, same thing for our purposes, is more likely. A second cue we use. Did that person choose to engage in that behavior? Are you more likely to say it has something to do with the person if they chose it, or if they had a gun at their head, they were forced to do it? Which one, choosing or not choosing? What? Choosing, right, so something more about them. This is very intuitive. Somebody's forcing you to do it. The teacher says you have to debate in favor of capital punishment. You saw the teacher said you have to, your grade depends on it. We don't really know. Okay, you shouldn't really infer that their opinions reflect how they're arguing. But if the teacher said you get to choose what side of the debate you're going to argue for, then you can be more likely to make a corresponding inference, assuming, oh, they're choosing to argue against or for capital punishment, must say something about them. This would be the rational thing to do. We're going to end today's lecture asking ourselves whether we are as rational as these kind of cues would suggest we should be. Okay, so if someone chooses something, corresponding inference, internal attribution more likely. If they don't choose something, you've got this other reason why they're engaging in that behavior. So you can't just assume, it's not that rational to assume it's something about them. Okay, last example I'll give is social roles. Various kinds of social roles, occupations in society call for certain kinds of behaviors. Judges are supposed to be objective and fair. Nurses are supposed to be nurturing and kind and helpful. Teachers are supposed to be smart, hopefully a little bit, okay? If somebody's acting in ways congruent with their occupation, congruent with their role, Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of an ambiguous case there. Presumably they chose to be a teacher because they have some teacher qualities, but you don't know necessarily if they're the nicest people, if they're acting like a nice nurse, because nurses are supposed to be nice, okay? But if this nurse is being really negligent, really not paying attention to you, okay, this is out of role, inconsistent with the job description of a nurse, you can be more likely, more confident about corresponding inference. Oh my goodness, she's the meanest person on the planet, and she's supposed to be taking care of me. She must really be mean. Versus, oh, she seems really nice and helpful, but she's supposed to be nice and helpful. That's her job. You with me? Okay, so this should be pretty intuitive. I'm not saying we always do this correctly, okay, but this would be sort of a rational thing to do. Take your eye-clickers out. This is the only eye-clicker question today. So it's important you. It's based exactly on just what we talked about, those cues, okay? Take it out. This is the only eye-clicker question you have time for today, so be ready. Joel decided to drop out of college. That's the behavior you're trying to explain. Which of the following best supports making that correspondent inference, a correspondent inference for Joel's decision? That dropping out of college is something about Joel, okay? Hold on, let's read it. Okay, Joel didn't have enough money to cover tuition. Let's say you found out that. Should you make a corresponding inference? Joel failed to maintain the minimum GPA requirement to stay enrolled. Should you make a corresponding inference? Joel's parents met each other in college. Should you make a corresponding inference? Everyone in Joel's family believes that getting a college degree is a valuable goal in life. You hear that? Should you make a corresponding inference? Internal attribution. Hearing which of these pieces of information would make you the most comfortable in saying that Joel decided to drop out of college says something about Joel? Okay? Okay, 5. Choose anything at this point. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is D. Great. Okay, you're going to get an 8 on Wednesday. Let's see. What are the results? Okay. Hey, what's happening? Oh, bad. Don't touch your things. Don't touch. Okay, how do I go back? No. Did most of you put D? Press the back arrow. Yeah, but we don't get. Most of you put D, right? Most of you put D? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, terrific. You all get A's. Okay, so the idea, just quickly, hide results, is that Joel didn't have enough money to cover tuition, so he had no choice. Joel failed to maintain the minimum requirement. He had no choice. If he had plenty of money, that means him choosing not to go is not about not having money, so it's more likely to be about him. Those who say he had no choice, C was a ridiculous answer. Tell me nobody chose C. Nobody should have chosen C. It's irrelevant. Everyone in Joel's family believes that getting a college degree is a valuable goal in life. Okay, he's got all these reasons, all his whole family saying, and he still doesn't go. Okay, so you're going to be more likely to say, wow, he's going against the grain, socially undesirable behavior, unacceptable behavior in his family, and yet he is making a decision, must say something about Joel and his feelings about college. With me? Okay. Now, this is a slide you've seen already. In your textbook, you're going to read about these two principles, which sound fancy, the discounting and augmentation principles. Remember reading that? Yes? Okay, how does that fit in here? Let me define what they are first, and then I will fit it into those cues we just talked about. So just focus on the red right now. This is essentially what we have been doing without the fancy labels. Discounting is this sort of heuristic, this idea, this principle that we use often unconsciously, okay, to make attributions where we say that a particular cause for behavior is less likely. Okay, we assign less weight to a particular cause of behavior, probably not likely that this is the reason for Joel's behavior if there are other plausible causes of the behavior. Okay, so an example might be if somebody's acting in a way that's socially desirable, that's a plausible alternative cause for their behavior, alternative to the notion that it's something about them. Is your roommate a really kind, sweet, polite person because she's shaking your parents' hand when she first meets them? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, there's this alternative cause here. You're supposed to be polite to roommate's parents. Okay, probably not the safest thing to assume that when your parents leave, she's necessarily going to be always nice and so forth. Okay, you're discounting the internal correspondent inference because there's another plausible cause. With me? Okay, augmentation. Okay, this is when you're going to say, you know what, this cause of behavior is especially likely. It's being augmented. Your confidence is being augmented that this is the cause. Because there are actually causes in the situation or factors in the situation that would actually pull for the opposite behavior, and this person is still acting this way. So if that roommate of yours was being really rude, okay, and greeting your parents, you'd be even more likely to think she's rude because you're thinking to yourself, this situation calls for acting kindly. Nice, that is a socially desirable thing to do, and she's not acting that way. So I'm really going to infer my correspondent inference confidence is going to be augmented. These are just fancy labels given what kind of logic we were just going through when we were using those cues. Are you with me? Feel good? Okay, I'll leave this up here for 1 second. So this notion of discounting and augmentation, looking for these cues, if they choose or they don't choose and so forth, in section, last week those of you who had Thursday and Friday sections, and then Monday and Tuesday this week, you're going to be talking about another attribution model. Right, you guys haven't done it yet, right? Have not. Right. You're going to be talking about Kelly's covariation model. It too, you need to know it for the exam. Pay attention in section, Monday and Tuesday, folks. That model, this notion I've been talking about, correspondent inference theory, it really assumes that we're kind of rational perceivers. Okay, we do our best, we're very rational about things. But as you've already seen examples of, and you will continue to see examples of throughout the semester, we aren't always perfect perceivers. We're not always rational. We don't always use the information in front of us. We don't always interpret it in a non-biased, objective way. And this is very much the case in the attribution world as well. There are various biases we have, and we're going to focus on 3 biases. I'm going to tell you what they are. We know one of them already, because it's essentially the correspondent inference bias, but we'll get to it in a second. And then we're going to end today's lecture sort of analyzing why do we have these biases. Okay, what can account for the reason why we show these irrational, non-rational kinds of tendencies when it comes to explaining our own and other people's behavior. So the fundamental attribution error really captures the idea that we are drawn toward making correspondent inferences. It really is the same thing as this bias we have toward being more personality psychologists rather than the social psychologists you are training to be in this class. Okay, the tendency for people in Western cultures, I'll come back to that in a second, to underestimate situational influences on people's behavior and to overestimate person influences on their behavior. In other words, our inclination to assume that a behavior corresponds to something about a person. Okay, we're very drawn to being personality psychologists. Something about the person explains that behavior. We'll talk about why that's the case in a second, but as you read or will read carefully and talk about in your section on Monday and Tuesday, if not already on Thursday and Friday, in the Troy and Nisbet article, we know that there are cultural differences, right? Cultural differences in this tendency to commit the fundamental attribution error. It was termed fundamental at one point, 40, 50 years ago, because it was thought to be so robust, universal. But now we know, okay, that's not maybe as universal as we think. So what's the cultural difference? Who is more likely to make a fundamental attribution error? Okay, and who is less likely according to the research? Okay, why? Why would there be this cultural difference? given sort of your intuitions and ideas about differences between East and West culture. I'm realizing this is the first time we're going to be talking about culture. It'll come up again and again. Yeah. Okay. She's saying maybe it's the case that are you raising your hand or putting on your sweater? Okay, let me repeat what she said. Here. Maybe in Eastern cultures, people actually have less control over their lives, so they're actually very attuned to situational influences on behavior. Yeah. 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 Right, I mean, independent, that's right, you're both right. Okay, these ideas that in our culture, in America, in other Western cultures, there's a real sense of thinking about the self as this autonomous, self-determined, independent entity. In America, you make your own choices, you have agency. That's what we're raised to believe. What's your favorite color? You are this autonomous entity, you can do whatever you want, be all that you can be, et cetera, all these things that have to do with our culture. We're trained to think that way. Is it any wonder then that you're going to be very inclined to assume that someone's behavior has something to do with them, that they identically chose that? In collectivistic Eastern cultures, interdependent cultures, there's a lot more emphasis, or relatively more emphasis, on interdependence, our social relationships, our group memberships. People are more attuned to the social environment, to the implications of their behaviors for their relationship. Is it any wonder then, if they're more attuned to their different relationships external to themselves, that they would be less inclined or less quick to commit the fundamental attribution error, and maybe more inclined to take into account situational influences? Okay, as you read, or will read in the Troy Nisman article, it's not that Easterners never commit the fundamental attribution errors, right? It is fundamental a lot of the time, but they are more apt to pick up on situational cues, Easterners than Westerners on average. Okay, so is that what I have here? Okay, here is a classic study that researchers have used and that you read about or read about in the Troy Nisman article to get at this idea that we commit the fundamental attribution error. Okay, so this is one of these studies that, on average, you might find Westerners committing it more than Easterners, but not all the time. Again, you can read in the Troy Nisman article, everybody might commit it, but if you make the situation really salient or more salient, then you'll have Easterners commit it less. Anyway, here's the paradigm that people typically use. They give participants some sort of essay to read, and it argues in one position or the other. Back then, in this classic study in 1967, Cuba, Fidel Castro, this was a very big issue of the times. So they had students read essays that argued in favor of Fidel Castro or against Fidel Castro. Today, you can say pro-Obama, against Obama, what have you. Pro, intervening in Syria, anti-intervening in Syria, whatever. Participants are told either that the essay writer freely chose to write the position that they're writing about, or that they were forced to write that essay and the position they argued for. Afterward, after reading the essay, participants are asked, so what's the writer's attitude toward Castro? The rational thing to do would be what? To infer what? What would the rational thing be to do? Okay, if they had free choice, seems reasonable to infer that it says what they wrote about says something about their real feelings. But if they didn't, she's saying you really shouldn't because they were forced to do it. You can't really know what position they had. What do the actual data show, especially in Western cultures? Okay, on the bottom is pro-Castro and anti-Castro essays, people who read one or the other. Higher numbers mean more pro-Castro. Blue line means those who are told the writer had choice. You got to get familiar with reading these things, these graphs, okay? Red line is people who didn't have choice. The striking finding here is the red and blue lines don't differ. They're pretty much the same. And what they both show is that if you read an essay that's pro-Castro, you infer that writer must be pro-Castro. You read an essay that's anti-Castro, you infer much lower pro-Castro attitudes, you see how it's down, that writer must be anti-Castro. You rationally should have seen the red line not show that steep slope. It should be sort of maybe in the middle or something, because you cannot know. Technically, they didn't choose, is the idea. Yeah. People who read the essays were told either that the people who wrote the essays had chosen it freely or they were forced to write it. I mean, that's the critical manipulation. That's one of those cues that we were just talking about. When you hear someone chose something, corresponding inference, rationally. If you hear someone didn't choose something, most rationally you should say, be careful, we don't know what they think. But that's not what we tend to do. Fundamental attribution error. Got it? With me? Also in the textbook, okay? And the Troy Nisman article. Okay. I skipped ahead to this earlier. Western cultures tend to focus on individual freedom, autonomy, and choice. This is why it is argued they are more likely to make person attributions, to commit the fundamental attribution error. Collective cultures focus more on relationships, not rocking the boat, having social harmony, so they're probably more tuned to the situation, the social environment. No wonder that they are more inclined or more open to taking into account situational influences. Okay, one bias down, two more to go, and then we'll talk about, on the last slide, some reasons why these things happen. Okay, second attributional bias is related to this first one. It's simply about how we tend basically to make the fundamental attribution error, or some data suggests that we tend to make the fundamental attribution error, you know this already, mainly when we're talking about other people's behavior. But we also make attributions for our own behavior. And when it comes to our own behavior, we don't commit that error as much. And together, that asymmetry, the fact that we commit the fundamental attribution error more so for other people than for ourselves, together that's called the actor-observer bias. When I am the observer, I will make the fundamental attribution error. When I am the actor trying to explain the behavior I, the actor, am engaging in, I'm less likely to make that internal attribution corresponding inference. Okay, bear with me. These two things go together. An actor-observer bias. So fundamental attribution error is basically the observer part of the actor-observer bias. With me? Okay, we'll come back to why this happens, and this will all make a lot more sense to you in a second. But let's go to the last and final motivational bias, attributional bias. It's motivated, and this one's easy to understand, very easy. As we laid out at the beginning of the semester, one of those big motivational drivers of our behavior and our perceptions is wanting to feel good about ourselves and things that are connected to us. And this motivation we have colors our attributional tendencies. We often exhibit, especially in Western cultures, where we really care